welcome to BuzzBooster TV.
I'm Shahar.
And I'm Nash.
Today we have a cool show.
An amazing show for you.
We are in Arizona.
Arizona, Phoenix, super hot, Scottsdale.
Super sunny, Scottsdale, yes. And of course we are going to give you some marketing tips so you can grow your business, some neuro marketing tips.
Neuro marketing tips.
We have some celebrities giving their tips about success for you.
Yes.
We're going to talk about cacti.
Cacti.
And frogs.
And frogs.
Enjoy.
Have fun.
So let's talk about something very interesting.
Let's talk about something very
National
interesting.
Geographic magazine.
National Geographic. They've been this month, they're celebrating 125 years of their existence.
125 years of a business.
125 years.
It's pretty impressive because
very impressive.
if you think the average is that after 5 years, 90% of businesses are closed. So 1 in 5 will survive 5 years. Imagine being in business for 125 years and going through difficult times in the economy. So it's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
But there's a very curious thing that happened in 1904, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, well, early on, right?
Yes.
So 16 years into the magazine, it was a pretty dry magazine. It was very specific. It came in like in a brown cover and that type of thing. So one day, the printer, the magazine was ready to go to the printer, and the printer came to the editor and said, "Hey, listen, you have 11 pages that you need to fill."
That's a problem.
That is a problem. We publish our magazine, right? And we know how that is when the time comes.
And ours is, 38 pages, so a lot less.
It's not
well,
as much.
so he had to fill 11 pages on a very short deadline.
Oh yeah.
So he didn't have enough material to put in there. What did he do?
So there were some pictures that were from Tibet at that time, and they were curious. They were of a part of the world where people were curious about. And so he said, I'm just going to pick 11 pictures. I'm going to send it to the printer, and that's going to be the end of it. I'm going to be fired, and people are going to ridicule me, but at least the printer, the magazine will get printed.
Yeah, so see how interesting. It was the first time they really printed pictures that were not maps or topographic maps, right? And what happened?
Well, came January when the magazine actually was published, was released, and he was congratulated. People were applauding him for what he did, and it was a huge success. And that ultimately triggered National Geographic magazine as we know it today.
Yes, exactly. Now, think about this. He took some risk that day.
Major risk.
A major risk, and he thought he might be fired.
Yes.
Right? But that was the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And then it ended up becoming the magazine
that it is.
That is successful after 125 years. Well, let's talk about two different things here. The first one, when you take risks. It's very important for entrepreneurs to understand that they have to take risks, but the risks need to be calculated risks. So he knew the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario was that he was going to be fired and have to look for another job in another magazine or newspaper, right? So he knew what was the worst scenario for him, and he decided to go for it. He took a risk. So that's the first thing, because we've seen many entrepreneurs that they embrace this idea of taking risks as part of entrepreneurship, and then they want
do stupid things.
Yes, they end up dead in the water, right? Because they didn't calculate what was the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. They just go for that, and that's stupid.
Yeah, you're not just doing it blindly. Sure, you might not know what's going to happen, but in your mind, in your head, you can determine, you can analyze the situation, see what are the different outcomes that can happen, and what is the worst thing that can happen, and the best thing, and so forth.
Yes.
But think before, just totally
don't
off
bite
tangent.
me, don't bite me, don't bite me.
There's B, but
on a tangent. You were going on a tangent. Yes.
So there's a.
Let me hold the magazine.
Why?
Because then it's steady.
It's safe.
It's safe. Yeah.
There's a show on NPR called Radio Labs.
Yeah,
one of my
awesome podcast.
All-time favorite podcast.
Yes.
Like show. I love it. Well, there was one episode Shahar and I listened to, I think more than a year ago. But every time we're talking about something like this, we joke because there's this little guy and his mom would try to teach him think things through the end. think things through the end.
Yes.
So we're always repeating
because
that
he
to
was
ourselves.
always getting hurt, right?
He was always
and the
getting
mom
in
would
trouble.
say, think things through the end. And it's so true for entrepreneurs
Yeah, it's
as
the same
well.
thing.
Very good point. You
Thank
have
you.
to calculate
I have my moments.
and think things through the end. What's the best
Exactly.
and the worst case scenario?
Yeah.
The other thing about taking risks is that, yes, we have to take risks.
Yes.
It's part of entrepreneurship and it's healthy.
Yeah.
You know, in the case of National Geographic magazine, for example, after 16 years without the pictures you know now, well, it was about time to innovate anyway.
Yeah.
Remember, brain likes innovation.
Yes.
It's important to bring new components to your business or to the way you do business every now and then. It's extremely important.
Yes.
And that's exactly what he did,
Yep.
right? Maybe he didn't know that at the time
Yeah,
about
maybe.
innovation because he was just trying to fulfill a deadline, but it did work because it brought innovation to the magazine.
Exactly.
Right? So do take risks, and remember, you cannot keep things as they are forever.
No.
No.
It's boring too.
You need to bring innovation because that's another way to capture attention from your market.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. All right, brace yourself for this tip. It's gonna sound simple, but it's so true. When you're selling to your prospects, don't let them multitask. This can prove itself to be particularly difficult when it's a teleseminar or a webinar, because then you don't have control over what they're doing, even though you would expect them to listen to you. So a tip, a way to deal with that is, you know, you can simply, before the teleseminar or before the webinar, send them a handout where they can fill in the blanks as they're listening to you. This way you keep them engaged throughout the entire process. If it's a one-on-one type of deal where you're negotiating with them directly, hey, remember, don't let them multitask. You need them and you want them to focus on your message. And that's the Neuro Marketing Tip for today. For the business owners that are fighting their way through success, what's the advice that you can give them?
Oh my God. For business owners that are fighting their way through success.
Yeah.
I think you got to keep your eye on your customers. I think so often businesses forget their customers nowadays. I know there's a lot of cutbacks, and often it's in customer service, which is ridiculous if you're in a customer-oriented business.
Yeah.
But that's where it's. I mean, I do a lot of traveling, and it's sad when you see hotels that have been cut back so far that, you know, even the manager is like bussing tables and they don't have enough staff on, and I'm like, what are you guys doing? You know, you have a convention here of like 50,000 people and you haven't put, well, we have cutbacks. And it's like, okay, well, you're really stupid, you know. So, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it's sad to see, and I do understand that, you know, we have to have cutbacks, but I don't know. I can't remember what business it was when things started getting really bad. There was some business that said it was one of the privately owned supermarket chains. I wish I could remember which one. But they said they actually did the opposite. When everybody was cutting back, they actually upped their customer service because they knew, how are we going to get people in here? Well, we're going to make people want to love being here. And they did that. And I wish I could remember which. It'll come to me later. But it was a supermarket chain somewhere in the States that was a small, still family run, and their attitude was, no, that's not what we're going to go back. So that would be my attitude. That's a long-winded answer to your question.
Yeah, well, thank you very much.
Of course.
You know, I want to ask you one thing. You've been in business for many, many years, right? Can you tell me 3 things that, you know, that you think you have in your personality or in your attitude that have helped you get there
Get where you
for
got.
so many years?
Well, I love people. You know, I really, and it's funny. The older I get, the more I really believe that every day it's really about spreading love and light. It's really, it's like, yeah, you know, yes, it's about the bottom line, but I can't be putting my attention on that. I have to show up for a job and almost practically put that aside, and my attitude's almost like for fun and for free. Even though, of course, it's not for free. Obviously, I'm getting paid for my work, but I have to sort of keep that attitude because it's got to be about the work. It's got to be about the work. It's got to be about, you know, and in my business, it's got to be about the story and the role that I'm playing. And really, it's about moving people.
And loving it so much that you would do it for free.
I guess that's what it is. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Although I'm at that part of my career where I'm not.
Yeah,
doing that
don't tell
anymore.
anyone. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
No, you are precious. Really? Hey, you gotta work your self-esteem a little bit. Precious.
So business owners who are fighting their way to success, what's the one advice that you can give them?
Persistence. Know your product and accept when it's not working. And be truthful to yourself, no matter what exaggeration sometimes you give to others. Take the flack when it comes, if it's genuine, and you'll know inside yourself. And you know a lot actually from failure, a lot more from failure than you do from success. Persistence really is the main thing. And lean against the wall of barrier. Because if you lean against it, it'll give way. If you run at it, you'll end up hurting yourself.
That's great. With Doctor Who, it's a series that has been on for so long. Some of these qualities, some of the qualities that he has, what do you think it is that it's been for so long, that audiences all over them?
I think first of all there is a genuine DNA structure that's we're interested as humans in anything psycho. Now that either is because we've come in from outside on some meteorite or something, or there is the fascination of what's beyond. And a lot of sci-fi is the reality of today. Captain Kirk, did he not have the original flip phone, for example? You know? And the big screen that we watch on Star Trek, we all do that now with our camera, do we not? You know, so yesterday's imagination is today's reality, and so long it should. Otherwise, we'll all be sitting in a cave beating bits of wood to get fire.
So cacti, they're quite the interesting plant. They have several unique features about them, aside from the fact that they look cool and very different. I mean, they have so many cool things to share. There's so many good things to share about these. Even if you cut them, they have a viscous liquid in it, but it's like water. You can drink it. So in a situation where let's say you're stuck out in the middle of the desert and you need water, you could slice it open and even drink its water. But the thing that I'd like to share with you today really about the cacti is that, you know, they can last from 25 to 300 years. But the very unique thing about them is every now and then they blossom. And so you'll find a flower on that cactus, but what's interesting is that flower will blossom. They have periods to blossom and periods to rest. And so they got me thinking about business. Like in your business, there's the moment where you have to go full force and you have to make it grow and you have to give it your all, and so that it blossoms into a beautiful business. But then you also need to take into consideration that you need that time to rest so that you can basically restore your energy and plan and then go full force when the time comes again for you to blossom. So keep that in mind.
So when it comes to paying customers, do you think the way they pay, cash or credit card, matters? According to Neuro Marketing, it does. For example, studies show that customers that pay with cash tend to focus more on price, and customers that pay with credit cards tend to focus more on benefits. So why does it matter for you? Because especially on a negotiation, when you're closing the sale, if you see that your customer is going to pay you with a credit card, you should stress some points of the benefits of what you're offering. While if they're paying with cash, you can now say what a great deal they are making because they are focusing on that. So it does matter. Actually closing a sale, every single detail matters. When you're talking to them, if you avoid saying the word dollars, for example, will help you, as well as not showing them a price with dollar signs in front of it. Every single detail related to money is important because when we part with our money, we do have some emotions going on, and it's up to you to control that environment. So if you see the credit card, you know that customer is worried about the benefits of that purchase, while if you see cash, you know that customer is really worried about price. So use that to your advantage and make more sales.
So bullfrogs are voracious animals. They'll eat anything in order to satiate their appetite. they'll eat flies and insects, but then they'll also eat mammals, and they'll eat birds, and they'll even eat other frogs. They're willing basically to try anything in order to fulfill that need that they have, that hunger that they have, right? And so that got me thinking about business and wondering, okay, as a business owner, are you willing to try new things to fix that problem that you have at that moment? Perhaps, you know, perhaps you do, perhaps you don't, but think about that frog. Sometimes it doesn't matter if they have an issue, they have a problem, and there's something new for them to try, they might just stick out their tongue and go after it and see if it solves the problem. And so in your business, oftentimes, just stop and think about that. It's like, am I willing to try new things, even if it's a little awkward?
Hi, I'm here with Kevin Quad from Go Engineer, and we're going to talk about 3D printers. I think they're super awesome, and we want to know, Kevin, how is this going to impact the small business owners? What are the possibilities for them?
Well, so the great thing about living in Utah is we have tons and tons of small businesses and entrepreneurs here in the state. Work Simple is actually one of the companies out in South Jordan. They even actually use multiple printers. More and more small business owners are actually going towards getting a machine in-house because 3D printing is awesome, but when they do it outside, it costs them a lot of money. So we have something like this Mojo 3D printer here.
Okay.
Small business owners can lease this for $185 a month.
Oh,
For
really?
a professional grade printer, that's extremely affordable for capital equipment. And honestly, a lot of people are using these things to prototype everything you see on this table. I mean...
so if I'm a manufacturer, I could use this to create a prototype, and then if I have to send somewhere else, then I have the prototype already.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So let me show you something cool. So, for example, this is a snap fit. Normally, when you print something like this, certain parts you can't print on some of the cheaper machines because of the small gaps. These machines print something called support material, so you're able to do really complex objects and maintain all your crazy geometries. So this actually snaps together, so you can actually test these prototypes before you even send it out to a consumer.
Okay, this might be a stupid question, but for me to design this, I'm going to use any design software and then send to the printer, or?
Yeah, so with the printers, they read something called an STL file. So you can actually use SolidWorks, you can use Pro Engineer, you can use Google SketchUp, RhinoCAD. As long as you can export something called an STL file, these printers will read it and print it.
Right.
Now,
A piece like this, how long would it take to print?
this one probably takes about 30-45 minutes.
Okay,
So it
not
prints
too bad.
extremely quick. So versus a turnaround time on waiting for someone to build a prototype for you, you can just go and print this and then go to lunch, come back, and you got your prototype ready to go.
And it's a polymer, correct?
This is an ABS plastic piece. So
Okay.
this is the same plastic you're going to find in Lego pieces.
Oh, nice.
So-
So talking about Lego, let's talk about toys. Come over
Okay.
here. So the art toy industry, how do you see that with the 3D printers?
The toy industry has been using these 3D printers for years. It's probably one of the things that people aren't aware of how long 3D printers have been around. They're thinking that, oh, this is new technology, this barely happened. It's been around since the 80s. So an example, something like this.
Which you created, right?
Yeah,
You're a toy
yeah.
designer as well, right?
So I have to give credit to the original guy that made this. His name's Pablo Ferrero. And we took this file, we actually printed it out. And what I did is I sanded it and painted it down. So a lot of toy manufacturers like Hasbro, Mattel, will print mock-ups and actually go through and paint them. So to get an idea of what the end-use product looks like, they can give these things to kids to play with and see, oh, hey, maybe they like this toy or not. So it's awesome.
It is really awesome. You know, one last question. Do you know any numbers about the market for toy art and at all or not?
Not at the top of my head, but you know, it's constantly growing. We still have people that constantly come to us. Disney is a big customer of ours.
Oh, really?
And they print tons and tons of things. Can't say everything because we're under non-disclosure, but they got some pretty cool stuff on the works.
Coming up. Okay, if people want to lease one, where should they go?
So you can actually contact us at Go Engineer. Go Engineer is actually a Utah local company, and we sell design software as well as all the 3D printers. And we have an awesome 3D printing room if you guys ever want to come by and check everything out.
Yes.
So-
Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you so much.
Well,
That was so good.
it was so good, but we had to come to the shade, right?
Yes.
No way to watch the show with all the sun.
No, too hot.
Yeah. You know, there's one more thing that you should do.
What is that?
You go to bestbuzzgift.com.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
bestbuzzgift.com
You get our super special guide
for free.
for free, good point, on how to become irresistible
Irresistible.
to your market.
Yes.
See
Must
you
get
next
it.
time.
See ya.